So, after the success that was the 1994 mega blockbuster movie being Speed with Keanu Reeves and whatnot. So what does Fox decide to do after that movie made a ton of money? Despite the fact that that movie didn't need a sequel and there was no sequel made whatsoever. They decided, let's make a sequel to that film. But we have no Keanu Reeves. And on top of that, let us take what made the original great and just throw it in the rubbish bin. You get this unwanted, pointless, and shitty sequel that nobody asked for. Oh God, where do I even start with this crap? So anyway, Speed 2 rolls along. And so eventually Keanu Reeves was offered an opportunity to come back. But of course he turned down the offer in order to go star in Devil's Advocate. And Devil's Advocate is a much better movie than this. I don't blame Keanu Reeves for not coming back. He must have taken one good look at the screenplay and said, F this shit, I'm out. Other actors were considered for the role as well, like Christian Slater at one point was considered. He too said no to this. And then of course, Billy Zane was offered an opportunity and he said no to this in order to act in Titanic. As some of you people may not know, I don't like this movie. Go read my review on Titanic. Go read it on Letterboxd if you want to know my hate for that movie. But if I'm being brutally honest, I would rather much watch Titanic than this god-awful train wreck. Matthew McConaughey was also offered an opportunity to act in this movie, but he too said no to the idea. And then of course Gary Oldman was considered to play the villain, but he turned down the offer in favor of Air Force One, thank God, because he didn't want his reputation to be tarnished by this crap. So anyway, everything, as I mentioned earlier, that made the original Speed movie great has just been tossed out of the window. The script is a badly written mess of awful dialogue, unfunny humor, bad dialogue, terrible acting, and slow pacing. The movie is called Speed, but it's set on a slow-moving ship. How the hell does that make any sense? Cruise ships are not known for going fast. They move at a very slow rate. It would be like calling a movie Outer Space, but most of it takes place on Earth. How stupid can this title possibly be? And of course, let us all talk about the characters. I could not care less about any of the characters. Because Keanu Reeves could not come back to reprise his role for obvious reasons, they instead decided to replace him with a dull lead by Jason Patric and whatnot. Now, this is nothing against Jason Patric. He was just following the script and whatnot. I have liked Jason Patric in movies like The Lost Boys, The Beast, and even 1996's Sleepers. But he was just not fit for this role and whatnot, and his character by the name of Alex Shaw is a dull and uninteresting protagonist with all the personality and charisma of a slice of white bread. Then of course we later come to Annie Porter, and oh my god, they really did Annie Porter dirty in this movie. Remember how she was the competent love interest who helped drive the bus and kept it above 50 miles an hour? And in this movie she's relegated to I can't drive to save my own life. No. The reason to why you couldn't drive and to why you didn't drive a car in the previous movie was because you were over speeding. and your love interest Jack Traven told you to turn that weakness into your greatest strength. She is just there to crack witty one-liners and whatnot, to the point that I'm wondering, is this even the same character? And on top of that, they turn her into the useless damsel in distress cliche. She spends quite a large portion of the movie as the damsel in distress. And then of course later we come to the villain of this movie. Just give me a minute here, I need to find out what the villain's name was, played by Willem Dafoe. Oh, his name is John Geiger, and let me tell you something. This movie, along with XXX State of Union, which I'll get to in the near future, has one of my least favorite roles of Willem Dafoe. Remember how much of an entertaining and threatening villain Howard Payne was in the last movie? Well, John Geiger is nothing like Howard Payne at all. He is just a lame villain with nonsensical motivations and all that stuff, and lacks the intimidation factor of Howard Payne. The worst thing he does in the entire movie is kill the captain, and that's about it, really. The movie tries way too hard to make him this threat and whatnot, and it just fails completely. And then he even does this goofy as hell facial expression that has been memed a lot. I mean, like when Alex Shaw says something that you're going to a mental institution, Willem Dafoe does this goofy as hell face, which is like, what? Was that supposed to be intimidating, or was he supposed to be a clown and whatnot? And he even says this awful as hell, like, Eddie, you're my hostage! Come back here! Come to me! And we don't even get a final fight between the main protagonist and should I say, John Geiger. Instead, John Geiger dies by accidentally crashing the plane into the oil tanker and starts laughing as if he is Tom from Tom and Jerry, and then the plane explodes, destroying the entire oil tanker. Wow. Am I watching a live action movie, or am I watching an episode of Tom and Jerry? Seriously, that looked like something out of an episode of Tom and Jerry, for heaven's sake. And on top of that, this movie, for some odd reason, decided to go for a more comedic tone. And oh my god, the comedy in this movie is just insufferable. Every attempt at humor this movie so desperately tries to do just comes across as being unfunny. Every moment in this movie is just really, really bad. I mean, you have an attempt at comedy in where an anchor falls on and crushes a fat man's car, and the fat man screams, "My car!" and the dog pops out of the car and whatnot. And then you have all these stupid gags of people intentionally crashing into the ship and whatnot. Compare that to the previous movie, in where the previous movie had a serious tone, but somebody at 20th Century Fox thought, let's make the movie for the kiddies because we want to make more money and everything. Well, guess what? The movie backfired. And it bombed and nobody liked it. Yeah, so your movie really flopped. I mean, this is the time in 1997 in where you had crappy movie sequels like Batman and Robin, this movie, Alien Resurrection, and Mortal Kombat Annihilation. But if you people were to ask which movie would I rather watch between this or Batman and Robin, I'd rather watch Batman and Robin, because for as bad as Batman and Robin was, I could at least enjoy it for its camp value. I cannot say the same about this movie because I was bored out of my mind watching it. And that's exactly what this movie is, nothing but a bore fest. And what makes things even more insulting is that what makes things even more insulting is that there isn't that much action in this movie. We have a boring motorbike chase scene at the beginning of the movie, and then for the rest of the movie it's just extended filler scenes that add up to nothing. And then we have the climactic boat crash, and where most of the movie's budget probably went to. I will admit, for as much of a great effect as that was, it wasn't really that exciting and just drags on for too long. And then you have these stupid out of place gags as if I'm watching an episode of a comedy show. This entire movie just feels like I am watching a bad Disney Channel original movie, and that's exactly what it feels like. Nothing but a bad Disney Channel original movie. And then towards the end of the movie, Annie Porter once again is doing her driver's test. And then before she's about to turn, we see a cameo of the bus from the first movie. And she says that bus was going way too fast. Once again, another terrible attempt at humor. And the movie obviously telling me that I would rather much be watching the first Speed movie than this load of crap. It's so sad to see how Jan de Bond's career just went downhill. He had a solid action movie and a fantastic disaster movie, and then he all fumbles it up with this crappy Speed 2 movie. Good God, man, what the hell happened? I know you regretted making this movie, but still. You could have at least just said no to the idea. And as for Mark Mancina's score, there was not a piece of music I could remember from this score. This score was just so forgettable, as if Mark Mancina did not give a crap about this movie. And they were two die-hard clones that came the same year, being Air Force One with Harrison Ford and Con Air with Nicolas Cage. Two great and solid die-hard clones, and I would rather much be watching those movies any day of the week than this god-awful piece of crap. So if you're to ask me what are the redeeming qualities of this movie, I'll tell you what they are. Well, some of the effects are actually pretty good considering how big the movie's budget was. And maybe Willem Dafoe's performance got a few good laughs out of me, but that's all I can say. Overall, just let's just bury this movie in the deepest hole we can find and just forget about it. And if you're wondering how I'm going to rate this movie, I am going to give Speed 2 a very poor 2 out of 10. Just go watch the original Speed, and if you want to see a die-hard clone from 1997, go watch a marathon of Con Air and Air Force One to wash the awful taste out of your mouth of this dreadful sequel. Because that's exactly what I did shortly after watching Speed 2. So anyway, that's all I've got for today. Shadow Leon 659 signing out.